Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Pauline Fu. In this video, I will build models with qualitative independent variables. I will also build models with both qualitative and quantitative variables. So first, question here. Milk production of shaded coats. Because of the hot, humid weather conditions in Florida, the growth rate of beef cattle and the milk production of dairy cows typically declined during the summer. However, agriculture and environmental engineers have found that well-designed shade structure will significantly increase the milk production of dairy cows. In one experiment, 30 cows were selected and divided into 3 groups of 10 cows each. Group 1 were provided with a man-made shade structure, Group 2 with tree shade, and Group 3 with no shade. Of interest was the mean milk production. Question 1. Identify the independent variables in this experiment. Okay. And question 2. Write a model relating the mean milk production, EY, to the independent variables. Question 3. Interpret the beta parameters of the model. So first question, what is the independent variables? So in this situation, group is the qualitative independent variables. And this group has 3 levels, group 1, group 2, and group 3. When you have 3 levels, qualitative variable, you need to use 2 dummy variables to represent 3 levels. Okay. So that is question 1. And question 2, write the model relating to mean milk production EY to the independent variables. So to write the models, we have to define what is x1. Okay, so x1 is the dummy variable. Okay, x1 equal to 1 when it is group 2. Otherwise, x1 equal to 0. So x2 is 1 when it is group 3. Otherwise, it is 0. So the base level is group 1. Okay, base level is group 1. So the model would be EY equal to beta 0 plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2. So this is the model. And this model has a qualitative variable, dummy variable x1 and x2. Okay. So we answered question 2. Question 3, interpret the beta parameters of the model. So what is the beta 0, beta 1, and beta 2? Okay. Beta 0 is the mean milk production for group 1. Beta 0, because group 1 is the base level. Okay. And then what is the meaning of beta 1? So beta 1 is the difference between mu2 and mu1. Mu2 and mu1 means it is the difference between group 2 and group 1. That is beta 1. So beta 3 equal to mu3 minus mu1. It is the difference between group 3 and group 1. So that is the interpretation of beta. Okay. So we completed this question. This question asks us to build a model with qualitative variable and interpret the parameter for beta 0, beta 1, and beta 2. Okay, now this example. Tipping behavior in restaurants. Researchers collected data for a sample of 348 dining parties to model the tip size. So tip size is Y, measured as percentage of total food bill. Okay. Usually people will give 15% or 20%. Okay. So tipping size is Y. Y is a function of size of dining party. Size of dining party is X1, and whether or not the server complemented the customer's choice of menu item, that is X2. There are two theories. One theory states that the effect of dining party size on tip size is independent of whether or not the server complements the customer's menu choice. Another theory hypothesizes that the effect of dining party size on tip size will be greater when the server complements the customer's menu choice. So there are two theories, and then you have 3 questions to answer. Question 1, write a model for EY as function of X1 and X2 that corresponding to theory 1. So recall theory 1 said Y is independent with the complements. Okay, the complements. So that is theory 1. And how do we write the model? Again, whether the server is complement or not, that is a categorical variable, qualitative variable. So we use dummy variable. X2 represent X2 equal to 1 if server complemented. X2 equal to 0 if server does not complement. Okay, so that is X2. And then what is X1? X1 is party size. Party size is a quantitative variable. So in this example, we have both quantitative variable X1 and qualitative variable X2. Okay. So the model would be in theory 1, the model would be EY equal to B0 plus B1 X1 plus B2 X2. Some textbooks also use beta. It is the same thing, different notation. So you can also write down EY equal to beta 0 plus beta 1 X1. X1 is party size, quantitative variable. And then plus beta 2 X2. X2 is a qualitative variable, dummy variable. Okay. So this model on condition that Y does not interfere with complement. Okay, so this theory said, the party size X1 is independent of X2. That is theory 1. X1 independent with X2. So when X1 independent with X2, they just have the main effect. So it is just beta 0 plus beta 1 X1 plus beta 2 X2. There is no interaction effect. However, theory 2 said party size X1 Party size X1 will be greater when you complement the customer's choice. So X1 interact with X2, that is the second theory. So question 2, write down the model when X1 relates to X2. So we have to add interaction effect. So the model becomes EY equal to beta 0 or B0 plus B1X1, B2X2 plus B3X1 times X2. X1 times X2, that is the interaction effect. Okay. Alternatively, instead of B0, B1, B2, B3, you can use beta 0, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. So that is the question 2. And question 3, researchers summarize their result with this graph. If researcher found there is a graph here, okay, number in party means this is X1, tip, that is a Y, okay, and this circle represents the server complement customer's menu choice, rectangular, no complement. As you can see, this line, this is a complement, interact with no complement. So that means theory 2 is hold true based on this diagram. So the model would be the second one. Okay. So this example involved both quantitative variable. So X1 is a quantitative variable, party size. Quantitative variable. And X2 is a qualitative variable. Qualitative variable. And it has 2 levels, complement or not complement. So this is this question. And the next question, chemical composition of rainwater. I'm just going to move my computer a little bit. All right, so I'm going to, it's very sunny here. Good weather today. All right. So this question, chemical composition of rainwater. Okay. Study shows the chemical composition of rainwater. Researchers want to model the nitrate concentration. Y is the nitrate concentration in a rainwater sample as a function of 2 independent variables. One variable is water source. Water source has 3 levels: underground water, subsurface flow, overflow, or overground flow. This is one variable, water source. And this variable is qualitative data because it is categorical variable, 3 levels. Another variable is the silicon concentration, and this variable is a quantitative variable. Okay. So question 1, write a first order model for EY. Remember what is Y? Y is nitrate concentration. Okay. EY is average of Y. So write a model for EY as a function of independent variables. There are 2 independent variables. One is water source. This is one independent variable. And the other is silicon concentration, two variables. Assume that the rate of increase of nitrate concentration with silicon concentration is the same for all three water salts. Then sketch the relationship by the model on a graph. So first, let's write down the first order model. If the rate of increase in Y is the same for all water 3 levels. Okay. So first, because water level has 3 sources, we need 2 dummy variables. One is x1. x1 equal to 1 if it is a subsurface flow. x1 equal to 0 if it is not subsurface flow. And x2 is 1 if it is over ground flow. x2 equal to 0 if it is not overflow. So the base level is the groundwater. Groundwater is the base level. Okay, means when x1 equal to 0 and x2 equal to 0, that is the ground level. Okay. And then we use x2 to represent silicon concentration. x2 is the quantitative variable. Okay. So the model would be E1 equal to B0 plus B1x1 plus B2x2 plus B3x3. Okay. You can make a graph. This is Y. Okay. 2 is quantitative variable based on 3 different levels. And this model assume Y does not affect, see here, assume Y, okay, is the same for all 3 water salts. Okay. So question 2, again, write a first order model as a function of independent variables, but now assume that the rate of increase with silicon differs for the 3 water salts, and then sketch the relationship. Okay. So this question, if differ, means there are interaction between x1 and x2. So the model, one possibility is E1 equal to B0 plus B1x1 plus B2x2 plus B3x3, and then there's interaction between x1, x3, interaction between x2 and x3. Okay. So this is this model, and you can scratch the graph. Possible graph is this one. It is also could be this one. There are other possibilities. The graph could also be this one here. So this one interact with this one. It also could be this diagram. Okay. So this is question B. Again, this question involved one quantitative variable x2, and x1 is a qualitative variable, has 3 levels. So this question, last question here. A study of atmosphere pollution of the slopes of Blue Ridge Mountain in Tennessee was conducted. The file lead moss contains the level of lead found in 74 moss specimens collected from mountain slopes, as well as the elevation of moss specimen. And the direction, there are 2 directions. One is the east, 0 is west. Obviously, the direction is a qualitative variable. Okay. So question 1, write the equation of a first order model relating the mean lead level to elevation xy, x1, and the slope phase x2. Remember x2. x2 equal to 1 when it is east. x2 equal to 0 when it is west. Okay. So let's write down the model. So to write down the model, we have to define a dummy variable x1. No, dummy variable x2. Okay. x2 equal to 1 when it is east. x2 equal to 0 when it is west. And x1 is the elevation. x1 is the elevation. Okay. Because x1 interact with x2, so the first model is EY equal to B0 plus B1 x1 plus B2 x2 plus B3 x1 times x2. Okay, so this part is the main effect, and this part is the interaction effect. So that is question 1. Write down the model. Okay. Question 2, graph the relationship between mean lead level, means between y and the elevation. Elevation is x1, and different slope, that is x2. Okay. So I'm going to use SPSS to do that, to do the graph. Okay. So first I will pull out, oops. So this is the data. You have the lead, okay, and you have the elevation, that is x1, slope is x2. Maybe I will change a little bit of variable name so that you know which one is y. Elevation is x1, and slope is x2. Slope is categorical variable. See here, it is categorical variable. Elevation is a scale variable, x1. So then I go back. So now I'm going to create graph. You can go to graph, and then regression variable plots. So I'm going to quick reset. So vertical axis means y. So I put lead y. Horizontal axis means x. So I have x1. And then I need to color by slope. Remember, slope is either 1 or 0. 1 represents east, 0 represents west. So I'm going to color by slope. And then I click OK button. And this is the graph. Y is lead, elevation is x, and use the different color represent west and east. Okay. By the way, how do you know 1 is east, 0 is west? If you go back to the data, you have to define label. So if I click variable, I just type in here, value label. See, you can type in 0 is west, 1 is east. Okay, you go from here, the values here. So I completed step. Another way to create a graph is you go to graph, legacy diagram, and then go to scatter plot. Just click this simple one, define. No, not this one here. So the other way you can go to graph, chart builder, and then You can select scatter plot, click and drag it here. X-axis is my elevation, X1. Let Y is my Y. And filter, so I click the slope as filter. Okay, and then you click OK button. You can also get the graph. Okay, it is a scatter plot, this graph. Okay. All right, so that is question 2, graph. Question 3, in terms of beta in the model, give the change in light level for every 1 foot increase in elevation for most specimens on the east slope. Okay, so in terms of beta, give a change in, this is Y, okay, change in Y for every 1 foot increase in elevation, this is X1, on the slope east, X2 equal to 1. When X2 equal to 1, it means east. Okay. So this is question 3. Okay. So basically, question 3 asks you take a derivative. Calculus. There are 2 variables here, x1, x2. If you take derivative for relative to x2, so this is constant b0, you get 0. Constant derivative is 0. And then you take the derivative actually relative to x1, okay? So b1, x1 take derivative, you just have b1 left. And b2, x2 take derivative relative to x1, you got 0. And the last one is b3, x1 times x2. Take derivative relative to x1, so you get b3 x2. b3 x2. And x2 equal to 1, because it said this is for, see, x2 equal to 1. I make a notation here. It is east. Okay, so the final result would be b1 plus b3, or beta 1 plus beta 3. Okay, so just take a derivative relative to x1. Okay, so that is the question 3. Question 3. Question 4, fit the model for part A. Okay, so fit the model. So this is the model. B0 plus B1 x1 plus B2 x2 plus B3 x1 times x3. I'm going to use SPSS to fit the model. So this is my data. This is x1, x2. I also need x1 times x2. So I will go to transform, compute variable. And then I'm going to create x1 times x2. Okay, so this is x1 times x2. Okay, and then click OK button. So now I have x1 times x2. Let me double check. Yes, that's correct. Maybe I want to change those number into, okay, I'll try. Actually, it doesn't matter. Maybe I want to change this one to scale. Okay, I will do as it is now. If something happened, I may need to change the this one for scale. Okay, So now I have my x1, x2, x1 times x2. So to fit the model, go to Analyze, Regression, Linear. Dependent variable is y, so let is y. Independent variable, I have 3. I have all these 3 is my independent variable. Okay. So x1, x2, x1 times x2. And then click OK button. So now you have this result, okay? Model summary. ANOVA table. The p-value is 0.857. This p-value is greater than alpha, so the model is not significant. The model is not significant. And over here, you have coefficient table. Based on this table, you can write down the equation. This is beta 0, 2.385, beta 1, 0.002, beta 2, 3.2, beta 3, negative 0.001. Okay, so I'll just copy this and paste it in OneNote so that I can make annotation. Okay. So this is here. Control V. So I copied the screen. Okay, maybe move this a little bit here, and then adjust the size. Okay, so I make a notation. This is beta 0 or B0. This is beta 1 or B1, and then B2, B3. So the equation is y equal to beta z, this one. So I'll write down y equal to 2.385. This is B0 plus B1. B1 is 0.02 times x1. And then plus B2, 3.2 times x2. And then negative 0.01 times x1 times x2. Okay, so that is the model. Okay, all right. So let's look at the question where we are. So I did step 4. Okay, step 4. Step 5, write an equation of the complete second order model. So the complete model, second order, would be EY equal to beta 0 or B0 plus B1 x1, okay, plus B2 x2, and then plus the interaction B3 x1 x2, and then plus B4 x1 squared plus B5 x2 squared. So that is the complete second order model. Okay. In summary, this video presents model building for qualitative variable. It is also present examples of problems for model building involving in both quantitative variable and qualitative variable. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.